I am working on a New Holland. Yup. You're probably guessing why, judging by what I've got the camera pointed at. These drive motors are, well, this one here is not in good shape. We'll just put it that way. I got, the other day we was running this thing and started hearing a squealing racket. We thought it might have been an idler. Every now and then it'd squeal. But we bought this loader a year ago, and we did not change the fluid in these drive motors because I did not have a book for it to tell me how to do it. So I learned how to do it now. And while it was squealing, I took the oil out of this one, and it had burnt diesel motor oil in it. Yup. You heard me correct. Burnt diesel motor oil. Somebody had put diesel motor oil in this one. For what reason, I have no idea. Other than maybe that's all they had. Which in these drive motors, if you don't know, you're supposed to run gear oil. They're supposed to have gear oil in them. 90 weight gear oil is what these here take. And I took it out, and that stuff, it stank. I mean, it just smelled like rotten sewage. I don't know why. It did not have the smell of kind of rottenness that a clutch would have, or maybe a burnt oil smell like a rear end has. It did not have that kind of odor. It literally smelled just like rotten sewage. I've worked on a lot of rear ends, do different things, and when the oil was burnt and smelled bad, and it did not smell anything like what this that came out of this thing smelled like. It was bad. So we changed it the other day. We got it cleaned out, and I put get this stuck up here where it'll stay, where I can drain this. I'm flushing these again, is what I'm getting at. I put Lucas in it because if you need a real good gear oil, Lucas is probably about as good as there is, in my opinion. They've been one of the top companies over the years. Normally we run Mystic in a lot of stuff, but something like these drive motors that's under a lot of stress, you probably want to run something pretty good. And you can see that's already black again because it still had all that crud in it from the other day when I changed it. So that's why I'm flushing these again. I'm going to drain them and change it. But I'm kind of, this here is something that was prior to us owning it, because we bought this thing out of auction, not online. I would never buy anything offline sight unseen of a machine and not have any knowledge about it at all. But as far as this one, we bought it knowing it had some issues, and we fixed them and got it going. There is one pre-existing issue that's still wrong with this machine that has gotten a little worse, but I'll get into that. Well, we can do that now while I'm sitting here. Let me open this thing up. Now, one thing on this loader that I'm really annoyed with that New Holland has done here, and it's a complaint for me with them, is they have put a plastic hydraulic tank in here. This is the hydraulic tank. It's got a big spout that comes up here, and then your fills here, and your check sticks there. But this tank runs down underneath that motor mount and the pump and everything, down under the side. It's got steel plating over the top of it on that side, and it sits in there in a steel plated cradle. And probably, I mean, you can see this thing vibrates a lot. It's a big loader. Skid steers vibrate and move around and bounce around a lot, and everything kind of shakes around and gets views. And they've put a plastic tank in these versus the case we've got, which was pre-case New Holland days, or it was before they made, it was when they were still building case design loaders. They weren't case New Holland design loaders like they've got right now. This one was a New Holland design loader. This is the old New Holland design prior to them coming up with this modern thing that they've got now, that's a cross between the two of them, that I've been told by the dealers that they are no good and not to buy them. Now, that's the dealer's words, not mine. I've had multiple dealers tell me that. So do what you want to do. That's not my thoughts, that's the dealer's thoughts. So if the dealer's willing to say that, and they're the ones selling them, and that's what the only thing they sell, and they're telling you that don't buy one, they're no good until they get them fixed, that I would stay away from them at that point. But this tank's leaking. The only way to get this tank out is you gotta, I believe, from the looks of it, I've looked at this thing, got in there and looked really around the best I could. The only way I can see, unless there's a way to get it out the bottom, I've got a guy down the road that works on these things all the time. I'm gonna ask him about it before we do it. This is gonna be a winter project. I have not got the time right now to fool with this, but this tank is leaking. It's got a crack in it, and it's got a slow leak somewhere. I've replaced the hoses that go to it. There was a sensor the other day that had a leak. I replaced it. Okay, just to shorten this thing up because it's entirely too long. The sensor that I had to replace is right there on that flat bar steel directly under it. I'll point at it in a minute. It was leaking. Right now I'm pointing at it. It was leaking underneath there, right out of the end where the prongs are. What it is it's basically a switch or a sensor. I forget what it's called exactly. And it goes into the side of the pump, and when the pressure changes, when you pull back on the sticks to make the tracks go in reverse, or wheels, whatever it is, they're the same as far as how they work. It senses that, or it switches that switch when the pressure changes. It'll let it take pressure off, I guess, or put more on, and it'll make that switch activate the backup beeper when you're going in reverse, and that's what it does. But it was leaking right out of the end of it, and I had to replace it the other day, which wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't that expensive. And the tank that I was referring to earlier, that spout, the left flat piece of steel right there in the bottom that the seat sits on, right there on the side, the tank runs directly underneath it, probably to about where those rods are connected to the flat pieces of steel at the bottom of the screen. About halfway, it's probably about halfway underneath the seat to the front of the machine. And that's why I'm saying it's going to be so difficult. If it was just that bottle sticking up next to the motor, it wouldn't be that bad. But that tank runs all the way from the back of that machine nearly halfway to the front of that machine where that's at, and it's going to be a pill to get out of there. And the only way I really see to get it out is, like I said, is to pull that engine. But right now, let's get back to showing y'all how to change the fluid in those drive motors right quick. Explain what I'm doing here. This is your fill plug, this is your oil check plug, and this is your drain. When you drain and change the fluid in these, you want one of the end plugs all the way at the bottom, and then the middle plug needs to be to the side like this is, so that way when you fill it from here, it'll run out here, and that's when it's full. And so that's what I'm doing. But after I got the Lucas put into these drive motors on both of them, and I flushed them, the first time I put it in, the sound went away, and I just decided I wanted to clean these things out, like I said earlier, and really get all that crap out. So far, it hasn't made any more noises, or there hasn't been any problems. I have run it pretty good one day, and then I've run it for a little bit the next day, and we haven't heard anything. We used it down in the chicken houses right after this, stacking hay for a whole day. And Dad ran it, and he said he didn't hear anything. And then I loaded hay, square bales with it here at the house. A couple days ago, I loaded 100 bales out with it, and it didn't make any sound. So we'll see. Hopefully it won't be an further issue from this point. I really like this loader. Other than just a few little things about it, I really like the loader. It's got a lot of lifting power. I mean, it's right at a 90 horse machine. It's next to the biggest one they made at I think it's a 2007 model that they made. I really like it. I like the design of it. The only complaints I have with it so far has been this tank. That's just my preference. That's just a terrible design. I don't know if they've changed it or not. And the cab is extremely loud in the cab, which most of these are. Have been in others though that are not near as bad as this one. But this one's pretty loud in the cab. But at the time that this machine was built, it was not. It was pretty early on. Cabs hadn't been out that long, and they've come a long ways with them in the last ever how many years it's been, 10 years or whatever since. Yeah, I guess it's been 10 years since this thing, 11 years since this thing was built. And another thing too, when we bought this thing out of auction, it had a lot of things wrong with it. It had a busted door. We've replaced, put a new door in it. The condenser for the AC was shot. We had to put a new one of those on. We did a few other things too to it. And we come out good on the deal compared to what we could buy them for at that time. And that's why we did it. But the one thing we didn't get fixed when we started, because it was going to be such a issue and it wasn't leaking that bad then, was the tank. I should have done changed these dry motor oils. That's my fault. But I mean, it's just one of those things. You keep wanting to do it and then you never get around to doing it, and then it becomes an issue and then you do it. That's my fault. It really is. I dropped the ball on this deal. But this motor here did not have the same fluid in it that the other motor did. I nearly know that other motor had diesel in it. This one stank, but it smelled like just regular burnt or clutches gear oil that came out. It was not anything unnormal, and it looked like gear oil. The other side, I mean, it straight up smelled like rotten sewage or a dead animal. And it was just this thinnest black crap. Or, I mean, it wasn't really thin, but it was just this blackish crap. It had a texture. It just felt like motor oil to me, just used, and it looked like used diesel oil. But this is, y'all watch me fill this thing in. But I do like this motor, or this loader. Now, at the same time that this was all going on, the case was broke down as well. It had two sensors go bad in it that we had to replace, safety sensors and stuff, and it would not crank. We had to get those replaced and put in it, and we've got it back going again, and it's doing fine. I run it the other day, stacking hay, which is, y'all see us hauling hay in a few days. That was when we did it, but I didn't show the case then. But it's back going again, and so is the new Holland. Hopefully this won't go any further than this, I'm hoping anyway. But this machine does have, I think it's 3,500 hours on it. But thanks for watching. Please comment, rate, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.